Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Evil Dead, the 2013 remake. So when it comes to the Evil Dead series, I became a fan of the series about, a few years after the TV series got canceled. I started first with the television series, and I really enjoyed the television series. And so, because, I've always heard about like the Evil Dead and Ash, but I didn't know what the world it was or anything like that. And, the television series was like an action comedy, like horror show and stuff, right? And, it took a good while for it to find its footing because, like, it was a lot of filler and like comedy for those first two seasons and stuff. And so then when I was on Pluto TV, I was able to watch the very first Evil Dead movie, and I fell in love with that movie. I truly believe that is my favorite all-time horror movie. And like, it's funny because like I only saw that movie like a few years ago, probably 5 or 6 or so. And so like then I watched the second one and I really enjoyed that. Although I just feel like it's the same as that movie, just a whole lot more comedy and other stuff, And so then I saw finally the Army of Darkness. I particularly did not like that one, only because it wasn't a horror movie. It was just a slapstick comedy, like action movie. And I didn't understand why it went in that direction also. Like, okay, so like when I started with the first television series, like, I know what Ash's character is like, he's a little bit of a jerk. He's a hero. He's like comedic, but he's perverted and stuff like that. Then when I watched the first movie, he's like a very shy, timid person. Then the second one, he's very charismatic and like, stuff like that. But then in the third movie, he's just an all-around jerk and stuff. So I don't understand why his personality changes with every project he's in. And so when I heard they made like a remake in 2013, I badly wanted to see it, but I never did. So I kept looking for it on streaming, but you had to pay, and I wasn't about to do that. I finally found it on Tubi and everything a couple of nights ago, and I wish I never saw it. Now, to be fair, I did see clips of it on YouTube, the ending part, and I remember when I saw those clips on YouTube, I just remember thinking to myself, they're trying too hard, like they really are and stuff. And nothing felt like as genuine as that first movie. And so the movie came out in 2013. And then the television series came out about like 3 years later. And they were supposed to do a crossover movie with the survivor of the 2013 remake and Bruce Campbell as Ash. But as you know, that never happened, and he retired from the role after the television series. Not sure why exactly he retired. I don't know if he's ever stated. I know he was extremely pissed that the show got canceled because, people pirated it online instead of paying stars. And he said his show was like the #2 highest rated, pirated show next to Game of Thrones. And of course, if you pirate it, then stars ain't gonna make no money off it and get no ratings and stuff. So they canceled it. And so he retired, but, he came back, I think, to voice the video game. I heard the video game's not that good. But then they're making another remake called The Evil Dead Rises. And he's supposed to be an executive producer on it. And so I think that's supposed to come out on, I don't know, it was originally supposed to come out on HBO Max. Now it's coming out in theaters. He says it's going to be really good, but, who knows? You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I remember like in the 2013 movie, he did like a cameo at the end of the movie because he was supposed to be retired at that point. And honestly, the cameo makes absolutely no sense. And I know fans probably was happy about it, but it makes no sense in the movie. But back to this actual movie, I particularly did not care for this movie. I just felt it was an unnecessary remake. Because see, I always told myself if they were gonna remake this, they should have did something completely different. They should have had references that was similar to the original movie, but make it something completely utterly different. And for the most part, it was just a recreation of the first movie with certain things just like changed around and stuff. They added things in there that they thought was going to help the movie, but it just made no sense. And if you take that out of the movie would still be the movie. And it's kind of like, when you add new stuff in there, it's supposed to add like something. That's why it's called adding something in. But it added nothing to the overall story and everything. So that was very disappointing. The characters were the biggest disappointment of them all. I did not like none of the characters. Their personalities were stupid. Their motives were stupid. They was just some of the most unlikable characters ever. I honestly didn't care if they died and stuff. And like the final person, that was a huge twist. Now I did not see that twist coming. So that was different. But like the acting, my God, the acting was not particularly all that good. Like, I don't want to like rag on them, but they could have done so much better. Now, to be fair, the girl from Suburgatory, she did a pretty good, okay job. She was probably one of the best like parts of the movie, I guess you could say. I remember before she did Suburgatory, she was gonna stop acting altogether, but then she got Suburgatory, then that got lasted for like 3 years, got canceled, and then she's doing something else on NBC that probably got canceled, I'm not sure, and stuff. But like, yeah. As for everybody else, the brother, everybody else still acts. So it's a good thing that movie did not kill their careers. However, the blonde girl in the movie, dude, she had like she didn't even know what movie she was in when she acted. She was just like there, and she did not do a particularly good job. And so when I was looking up the cast list, I was surprised that like the black girl was from Gotham. Now I stopped watching Gotham before she came on the show, so I don't know who she is. But she was on there for like 3 seasons. And then the blonde girl, I was shocked and surprised to find out who she was. Okay, I've already talked about this television show on my channel plenty of times. Legend of the Seeker. I have not done season 2 yet, and she's in season 2. And the reason why I didn't recognize her is because like she has darker hair back in Legend of the Seeker and stuff. And I remember in Legend of the Seeker, her acting was pretty good and everything. Like, it wasn't great, but it was a whole lot better than what she did in this movie. So I was very shocked to know that her acting went down. Her acting career is the only one that's really been like effective. She hasn't really done much. And, I was very, very, very shocked to see that was her. I'm just like, your acting was kind of okay in the television shows. What the heck happened? And stuff. But like, I don't know, man. It's weird. It's like they just tried, I think, too hard with the horror and stuff. The horror never felt really scary. Now, to be fair, there are some good parts of this movie. I like the bathroom scene. The bathroom scene was cool. I like the ending when, like, like she's being chased, the person's being chased, and like, the dead person's after that person and stuff like that. That was pretty okay. But like a lot of other things that just didn't feel scary. I'm just waiting for things to happen. I'm like, is that supposed to scare me and stuff? And and so like the falling blood rain, I'm just like, that was kind of stupid and out of nowhere. And like the assembly part, it was just kind of like, that's what he built. And stuff. Then there was like, you get 1 but 2 arm chopping off scenes and everything, and it was kind of like, 1 was intense. I'll give it that. Like, that was gross. When something can gross me out, I'll give you props and stuff. What also grossed me out was the tree sexual assault scene. That was more disturbing in the first movie because you could really feel it going up her and stuff. So I'm like, ugh. Which I'm still not happy with the whole like tree like assault thing. Like seriously, man, it's like why? And I get it. They're supposed to be perverse and demonic and stuff like that, and you supposed to show it's real evil. But come on, man, and stuff. But there's a lot of things that happen in this that was just kind of like, not as good as the first one. And they had better CGI, but it was like, like the tree part when she was tangled in the branches. At first, I didn't know what the world was going on. I didn't even know she was in branches and stuff. Then, like, then there's the color filter and stuff. The color filter had kind of this burnt, muted, kind of rustic, like, look to it, you know what I'm saying? And I get it, it has a visual appeal to it. But when the entire thing is like that, then it just kind of like dilutes your eyes and everything. And you just you feel kind of blurry, you know what I'm saying? Like, like those filters, man. I'm tired of adding filters to everything. They're in TV shows, they're in movies, mostly in horror. And it just kind of takes away from it, And the original one didn't have that. And for some reason, the first one just felt more scary and everything than this. And this is supposed to be a modern day retelling. Also, I didn't even know what time period this movie was set in until I looked online. The beginning of the movie, that is really stupid, takes place in 2008. Then the rest of the movie takes place in 2013. And all I have to say is none of those people brought a cell phone. Seriously. They could have just called someone, had somebody fly out there, get their behinds out, boom. You know what I'm saying? Like, who doesn't have a cell phone? And so, like, then there's the Deadites. The Deadites did not look scary. It just looked like a bunch of people with makeup on their face, but not in a scary kind of way. They still look kind of human. Some of the earlier Deadites that were females still look hot, like hot females. So they're not supposed to look like hot females. They're supposed to look demonic and scary. Because in the first movie, the visuals of the makeup and the prosthetics were disturbing. You really felt like they were demons and stuff. And not only when they was demons, but see, and the problem with the remake, everything kept moving so fast. You didn't have time to take nothing in. Not only that, but they had shaky cam. I'm so sick and tired of shaky cam. In the original one, like when people turned into Deadites, they would move, walk in a certain stat minute kind of way. They would dance in a stat minute kind of way. They would make weird noises. Their faces were very still and everything. The prosthetic makeups were really good. You really felt like somebody was possessed. The way like that one woman like held the pencil up high in the air and she stabbed that person in the ankle, you really felt that. It took its time to set it up and everything. But with the new one, everything's just happening so fast and everything. And I just didn't like feel it. Like I didn't feel nothing. And so let's just get into this movie, shall we? So it starts off and it's some girl, I think, running in the woods, and so they capture her. They take her down below in the cabin, like below in the cabin, and there's a bunch of like dead cats hanging from the ceiling. Why? Don't know. It's one of those things that's added in here that adds nothing to the movie. They don't explain why they're dead cats. Like, is it part of a ritual? Maybe, but they don't explain. And so the girl's being like tortured almost, and we find out she's a deadite and everything. And her dad's about to kill her because there's no way to save her. And so she threatens him and everything, and they burn her. Then we go to the present day. That was in 2008. Now we're in the present day, 2013. And it's kind of like, well, what was the point in showing us that? Seriously, well, like really, what was the point? And it's kind of like, so I felt like it was unnecessary. Not only that, but the great thing about the original one is that it just started off with a group of teenagers, and they head out to a cabin in the woods, and everything was normal, and then all of a sudden creepy stuff started happening. Now with this one, we know something creepy is supposed to happen, and then it sets it up with the teenagers, and that kind of like takes away from it, because now we're anticipating something bad to happen instead of being shocked and surprised. The first one had such great suspense to it that it made you like, oh my god, what the heck is happening? You know what I'm saying? So then we get into our group of new people and they all suck. So, I don't remember nobody's names. So I'm just gonna make folks up. Main girl is Suburgatory. Her brother is a cake sniffer because he's just so soft. There's a word I want to use but can't because I'm on YouTube. It starts with a P and ends with a Y. But that's how he acts. See the black girl, since she's from Gotham, I call her Gotham. The other girl, the blonde girl, I could just probably just call her blonde girl. And then there's hippie dude and stuff like that. And somebody's dating. Okay, so Suburgatory and Cake Sniffer, they're like brother and sister. Now, what somebody's dating somebody in this movie, but I have no idea because they never make it apparent. And so I'm thinking to myself, why are there two other girls? Both guys dating them? Like, I don't know. They don't make it apparent. So in a way, this is why they're in the cabin in the woods. I think they said it belonged to their mom. Their mom is now dead. And they had to take his sister there to get her clean, detox her. He's estranged from his sister. He hasn't seen her in years. So all of a sudden, apparently she's a druggie and everything. And so one time she OD'd long time ago and they had to resuscitate, they had to like restart her heart. And so he found out finally all this crap. And so he's like, all right, fine, well, get you clean and everything. So he's going to detox her in a cabin in the woods. What does this backstory have to do with anything? I tell you what, right here, right now, absolutely nothing. This story adds nothing to the movie. It's an unnecessary filler. It's stupid. So, of course, she's freaking out throughout like the beginning of the movie because she's like going cold turkey. And I'm like, my God, she's screaming and nothing's trying to kill her. So then at some point in time, she gets infected with like a deadite. And then she's outside. And so then she gets assaulted by the tree. And like I said before, that was gross. That thing just went up in her, man. Like you could feel it. And it was gross. After that, she's now really infected. And they think, oh no, something's wrong with her. She's going worse than cold turkey or whatever. So then they're like, okay, let's get you out of here. So they hop in the Jeep. And it's him and her. And they're driving on out of there. But uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. You remember in the original movie, after Ash's sister got like assaulted and stuff, and he tried to get her out there in the middle of the night, and they're driving, but then everything's pitch black, and I think there might even be fog, maybe, or maybe it's just pitch black, and he stops the car because he has a worried feeling, and he walks out into the darkness, and you can't see him no more, and she waits, but then after a while, she gets tired of waiting, and she follows him, and then he comes out of nowhere, and he grabs her, he's like, it's gone, and she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's gone, the bridge is gone, and then we see the bridge is all mangled up, because they had to cross over like 2 mountain cliffs. And so she's hollering and she's screaming. She's like, no, it doesn't want us to leave and blah, 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 blah. That was good. That was intense. You know what they did for this movie? They drive up to near the road and then boom, it's flushed out by like a river and everything. And it's like a raging river. And I'm just like, it doesn't have that same feel. The first one was more like a mystery. Like what the heck happened? This one we can clearly see it's raging water. Now look. You know a guy. We stupid. We're going to go through that raging water. We're going to drive as far down as we can where the water is like more calmer. Before we do that, we're going to head back, get that chain, tie it to a tree, and we're going to try to make it across that river. Because if you're in that much of a dire need and you're that pissed scared, ain't nothing going to stop you. Stop. And this is where a cell phone would come in handy. So anyway, she goes back to the house. She's really dead right now. And she's infecting other people. She infects that girl by biting her and stuff. And so then Gotham, she turns. And then we get that cool bathroom scene. And then Gotham attacks hippie dude. And then hippie dude, he found the book, and the book of the dead is like tied in barbed wire. He cuts it, and for whatever reason, he decides to read from it and everything, even though it's in a different language and stuff. But somehow he's able to. And the book doesn't look as cool as, like, you know, the original books. I should say books, because the book always changes in every medium, every movie, every television show. It's literally a face of a person being ripped off and put on the book, and the book even makes an illustration of that it rips somebody's face off, but you can't tell that in this new remake that it's actually somebody's flesh off their face that made the cover of the book. So what the world? And so like, he reads from it, and it kind of makes you think to yourself. Now, you know, I've seen things in different languages before, and you know what I do? I don't read from it. I just like, oh, here's a language I don't know. And then I move on. Nobody reads anything from a language they don't understand. But for some reason, in these horror movies, they always do that. Now, the great thing about the first movie is that nobody read from the book. They played the audio, and the audio read from the book and stuff. And that's what started the whole demonic stuff and everything. So anyway, all the freaky stuff is happening. And Cake Sniffer doesn't understand like what's going on, and he's freaking out, and his acting's really bad. And then blonde girl hand gets infected. So what does she do? She takes like, this is the part where I didn't know what time period in. Everybody's dressed different. All the girls are dressed in modern day. Cake Sniffer is dressed like he's in the 90s, and hippie dude like he's dressed in like the 70s or 80s. And then, so, you know, knife saw type things you use to cut like a turkey for Thanksgiving. Well, she had an old-fashioned 1971, and so she used that to cut her hand off. And it's not as oppressive as Ash cutting his hand off. Now, Ash's Delta does make an appearance in the beginning of this movie. The sister was actually sitting on it when her brother showed up in the beginning of the movie. Okay. It's all old and rusty now, but whatever. And so then all of a sudden, everybody's turning to deadites. Everybody's dying. They got the sister locked down in the basement. The sister is a deadite for the entire movie now. And so she's freaking out. She's, because this movie, it takes inspiration from the first two movies and stuff. And so, they kill Gotham. At some point in time, Blondie dies. And it's just him and the hippie. Hippie's freaked out. Hippie dude can't act. And so, like, he's all like, look, man, there's no way to save your sister. You gotta kill her and stuff like that. He's like, I can't do that, man. It's my sister, man. And so he's like, you have to. So at some point, I think he kills him. And so now he's all like, oh, man, I gotta kill my sister. So he's gonna bury her alive. And before he buries her alive, you know what that fool does? He finds a nice, pretty red dress, and he puts her in it. Why? Because he's a cake sniffer. And so, like, he starts to about to bury her, but like, nah, man, I can't do this. It's because he's a cake sniffer. He has no backbone. Man, go and bury your sister alive. She is a demon. So he takes her up, and now it's the assembly part. And it's not as cool as any of the other movies and stuff. Basically, the thing he assembles is like some type of defibrillator that he made on his own. I don't know. The dude's MacGyver. And so he's all like, live. He's like zapping her in the heart and everything, hoping she'll come to. Somehow it snaps her out. And stuff. And she's back to normal. Now, at some point in time, Blondie kept saying, he's coming, he's coming. I'm thinking to myself, who? The devil? Because the devil has never been referenced in none of these movies before. So I didn't know who the world was coming. And so, like, something happens, and Cake Sniffer ends up dying. He gives his sister the keys. I think hippie dude came back alive and killed Cake Sniffer, and then somebody killed both of them. And then the building, the cabin, like, burns and everything. So she takes the keys, and she's trying to head out to the car. And this is where all the freaky stuff starts happening at the end. It got a little bit better. Oh, by the way, they had a dog too. I don't know why, they just had a dog, and the dog dies and everything, because this movie's stupid. Anyway, then all of a sudden, So I'm thinking to myself, okay, wait, hold up. They was making it seem like the cake sniffing brother was supposed to be like the Ash character. He did things very similar to Ash, about to bury his sister, trap somebody down in the basement, the assembly part. Oh, by the way, there was no catchphrase. You know how Bruce always says like groovy? Now, to be fair, in the first movie, he didn't use a catchphrase. That was just later on in the second. And he's been using it ever since when the movie franchise started getting more comedic. Because the first one was just a straightforward horror. And he didn't use no catchphrase. So I'm kind of okay with that. But at the same time, I would prefer him to use a modern day word like bitching or something like that, you know what I'm saying? Or like rocking or just something modern or something like that. Or, just or like bring it or just something like that, just something modern, just something to give it a little flair, you know what I'm saying? But it didn't have to, so I'm okay either way. Now, as for the acting, let me clarify something. Now, we all know in the first Evil Dead movie, nobody's acting was good in that movie. Let's be honest, all right? But even though the acting wasn't particularly great, it was still good, you know what I'm saying? Like certain moments that mattered, like they really gave it their all and stuff like that. And so, like, one of the great things about the first movie is when the climactic end starts happening and all the crazy demon pussy stuff and head spinning and all that other crazy crap start happening. Ash is just literally there on the ground, just like freaked out, like not saying nothing. It's the fear and the horror in his face that sells it. In this movie, everybody just talks too much and everything. And so the girl's trying to get out there to the car, and all of a sudden it starts raining blood for whatever dumb reason. And then, like, I can't remember which one happens first. I think some person comes up out of the ground and tries to kill her. I'm like, oh, he has come. I'm like, no, wait a minute, that's a girl. I'm like, who is, oh, no, wait, hold up. It's the girl from the beginning of the movie. The one from 2008. I'm all like, oh, so it does have a reference to that, but it's still a stupid one. Like when we saw her pop up out of the ground, we just thought, okay, it's a random person. And they should just let that stay stuck in our mind, being a random person. They didn't have to add that beginning scene because that really makes no sense. So anyway, 2008 girls trying to kill her, blood's everywhere, and like, what is it? She's running in and out. She's running into like the shed and like she finds the chainsaw, then she tries to use it, but oh no, it don't work. So then there's the oil or gas or whatever. So then she does this kind of cool thing where she bumps into the back of like the shelf and it like falls in her hand. And all I'm thinking is like, did they really have to do that? This movie's been so straightforward. Why add that levity of humor and everything? So in a way, she charges it up. She goes back outside. The car flips on top of her, trapping her arm. She pulls it. It rips completely off. It's gruesome and everything. Then here comes 2008 girl ready to kill her, but all of a sudden she gets the strength she needs. She turns on the chainsaw and she slices that girl and stuff. And it was actually a pretty cool scene. After all that and everything, it just stops raining and job well done, and she just walks off in the middle of the night, and that's it. And I was just kind of like, wait, hold up, she's the Ash type character? I did not see that coming. So it was a twist I did not see coming. I'm also very surprised she is the final person in the movie because she was a demon throughout the entire movie and she kept infecting everybody. Now she's like the hero and like everything. And so she just walks off and it ends like a Stephen King novel in a very weird way. And I'm just kind of like, well, at least in the first movie, Ash got like attacked and everything, and he's presumably dead. And in the second one, which I still think is a remake of the first one, he loses and goes back in time and everything. And then after he does all what he does in the past and comes back into the future in the third one, then there's still monsters around. He's trying to kill it. And then, of course, we get the cameo at the end of the movie. It's just Ash on a black screen and he says groovy. It makes no sense. He's just there for whatever reason. And it's kind of like, well, Why is he there? And then when you watch the TV show that came out about 3 years later, it's like it makes no sense. So when does that take place if it's all continuity? But I don't know. I just feel like it's an unnecessary remake. I feel like they tried too hard. Things just don't make sense. Characters suck and everything, and acting's bad, and it's just kind of like I don't know, man. It's just like that twist did get me, so I'll give them credit for that. But like I don't know. It's just I still feel like it's a dumb remake. And now, like I said before, and HBO Max is making a like another movie. And question is this set in like, the real Evil Dead universe, or is it set in whatever that remake thing was? And the thing is like this. With this remake, it's hard to please people because it's kind of like, okay, what do you do? Do you make it exactly like the first movie? Or do you add elements to it but change stuff around? Or do you change everything about it? Either way, it's going to piss people off and it's also going to make some people happy. So it's a win-lose situation type thing. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think they should have probably went completely different. They could have added references to the first movie, like Chainsaw, The Book of the Dead, stuff like that. But they could have changed things up. Like I'm thinking of like 2, 3, 4 things they could have did completely different in this remake. They could have did an actual family. Why not? A family, maybe they wanted to like take a trip to the woods. They rent out a cabin. The cabin's haunted. Hey, why not? You know what I'm saying? It could be like a married couple who just got married in their honeymoon for whatever reasons on like, the the cabin, you know what I'm saying? It could be some people lost and they just end up there. Like they could have done so many things instead. This was literally just like a retelling of the first movie. And not only that, but the dagger is nowhere to be found in this movie. They didn't even add that. Why not add that? They have all this other horror crap, but they can't even add the Kandarian dagger, I think it's called. Like, why not? Like, go that extra mile and everything. I don't know. It was just a lazy remake. Like, it's not entirely 100% terrible. It's just not a good remake of a movie, and it's just an okay horror movie and stuff. Like I think they should have toned some things down and slowed some things up. 'Cause it just kept moving at a fast pace, and with that muted, rusted, like fiery looking filter, it just made everything go even faster looking and stuff. Mufasa did not die for this. That wasn't that spooky. All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.